So a happy new year. First, we got to decide what we want. We have to make a decision what we want. Not just going to let things come as they may. We're going to, although they're going to anyway, but we're going to decide what it is we want. We're going to decide what it is we want. We're going to decide what it is we don't want. Kind of a good idea. If we've had experiences and occasions in the past year that we'd rather not repeat, we can make a decision within ourselves. Well, really, I don't want this. Is there something I can do to make sure that that doesn't happen to me? There may not be, but if there is, we can certainly take those steps to do so. So we decide what we want and what we don't want, and this is kind of important, and this is the step that a lot of times we miss. We've got to write it down. We've got to write it down. We just sit down, put it on paper, and then look at it, because actually when it gets down on paper, you might look at it and say, well, I don't even really want that. I'd just soon, have something else. So we write it down, and what we've done this for many years, and what we talk about is we've got roles that we play in life. And we have various roles that we play. And within those roles, we establish goals. So roles and goals. And this came out of the training that I had with Stephen Covey. But the idea is you take a look at these different roles that you play in life, and he says you got to pick out a certain number of roles to work on for the year. And you shouldn't have more than 7. So because more than 7, it gets unmanageable. So the roles that we play in life and the goals for each one, and I was thinking, I've really consolidated, and I probably forgot something, but I've been working on this for a few days. And so the roles for me, I'm just going to share those, and some of them will match up to yours, and some of them won't, but I got it down to 4. And so spiritual student / teacher. That's a role. I really I think highly of my of myself in certain ways, and I try to. So I put down another role is athlete. So I saw that smile coming over there. So then family person, family man, family person, and then 4th financial. So we got these 4 roles that I play in life. And actually these 4, if you think about it, there's quite a bit inside each one of those roles. So spiritual student, teacher. So inside there I've got study and I've got the church. So I've got and so there's practice, right? There's this practice involved in this spiritual path that we're on. As far as the athlete, I've got exercise, nutrition, and something everybody leaves out is sleep. And this is really something that's important. There's a lot of us that are not getting enough sleep. And it tells. It stops us from, achieving the things that we want to achieve. And in the family, of course, I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a sibling. And financial, I've got investments and I've got work. So this just for me, I need to sit down, and this is how we've always done it, and this works so well. You'll know right away when I tell you how we do it that it's got to work. What we do is for each one of these roles, we set goals. And then we say, okay, so I've got this goal that I want to have accomplished by the end of the year. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we were having the NA World Convention was going to be in Hawaii. And we had 2 years to plan for it, right? And so there were a number of people who said they wanted to go to that convention, but they didn't make very much money, and they were trying to figure out how could we possibly take a vacation in Hawaii. There's just really not enough resources. So it was really simple. What we did was we broke it down. Okay, if I want to go to Hawaii, how much do I need to go to Hawaii? And we figured that because it's at the convention, you get convention rates and everything like that, we figured they needed somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 to make that trip. And then we said, okay, so in 2 years we need $2,000 to $3,000, so how much then would I need to save this year? It's arithmetic. So you say, okay, this year I need to save this much. And then, so if I need to save that much this year, how much do I need to save each month? How much do I need to save each week? And how much would I be thinking, how much could I save each day? And you know what? It turned out that 2 Red Bulls a day will put you in Hawaii in 2 years if you don't drink them, if you put that money aside. So this is how simple it is to do this, like this goal setting. As far as when there's numbers involved, it's really easy. So on the family side, I made a goal. I said, well, I would like to see my dad more than I've seen him. That is not a goal. That's like some nebulous thing in your mind. It has to actually be, okay, I'm going to see my dad once a week. And the reason that you say a number is so that you can check yourself later to make sure that you actually did what you said you were going to do. Otherwise, how are you going to know? Well, did I actually see him more than you don't know. So okay. So we break down the goals to yearly, monthly, weekly, daily. Oh, and then this is like so important. We affirm them daily. The power of first of all, the power of the mind working on these things, but also the power of the spoken word. We actually open our mouth and say the words that have something to do with the goal that we are trying to achieve. Do the most important things each day. And I can't tell you what the most important things are for you, but you can decide in each one of those roles what the most important thing is for you to do in that day. And then don't sweat the small stuff. There are a lot of people who would like to tell you what you should do today and tomorrow, especially when you go to work tomorrow. There are a lot of people, but here's the thing. The most effective people do the most important things, and they don't worry so much about those little things. So I remember actually Stephen Covey's wife said, when there is a greater yes burning within, it's easy to say no. So when somebody comes to you with some silly thing, and when I say that, I mean something that doesn't match up with your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, you could say no. You could be nice, but you can say no. So each day, just decide what's the most important thing that I'm going to get done today in this area. Is there something I can do to move me forward towards that goal? And then we keep track of progress and success. Now, everything I've said so far, you could go to any self-help seminar in the world, and they're going to tell you something similar to that. But here's where it's going to be a little bit different. Because I think there's some important things when we're on a spiritual path that if we can get the practice right, all of these other things start coming together. And so on my list, the first thing is to pray. To begin the day with some sort of prayer, some sort of meditation. And I know and here again, most of the people sitting in this room know that that's probably the best course of action. And also, most of the people sitting in this room have had long stretches of time where they didn't do that first thing in the morning, and then remember and get upset. Say, oh, geez, I forgot to do that again. What's wrong with me? Am I really serious about this? It doesn't matter. Whenever we remember, that's when we pray. Whenever we remember, we just say, oh, I forgot. Let me begin again. And really, this is the thing, it's very convenient. New Year's is very convenient because it gives us like a demarcation point where we can say, okay, I'm drawing the line right here, and I'm going to start anew. But the truth of the matter is, every day is like New Year's. So we made mistakes yesterday, that's gone, done. And in the meditation, we forgive the mistakes that we made yesterday, and we go forward today. It's a new day. And so I'm going to decide that I'm going to start with prayer. Now, I used to get up, and I had a little spot where I'd go and I'd sit on the floor and I'd get my materials out and I'd look at a couple of things, and then I'd sit there and do my meditation. I don't even do that anymore. What I do now is as soon as I open my eyes, I just start. I'm laying down. I'm laying down in the bed. I have not even moved yet. And I begin. And I have a routine. And I think, for me, this is important. I think ritual can be very valuable as long as we don't forget what it means. Because if we just memorize a bunch of words and say them to ourselves every morning and we forget, there's some value to it because there's a little bit of discipline involved. But to consider the words as we say them, consider the words that either as we say them out loud or as we say them to ourselves, and really allow the mind to work internally on these ideas and to allow those extrapolations to go forward. So we begin with prayer. And there are a number. I'm not telling anybody how to do this. You're on a spiritual path. You go and you start with something. You find what you're comfortable with. But what I do is I try to meditate in such a way that after I deal with whatever form of words that I'm using, and I've got something all typed up here, and a number of people here use it, then what I want to be quiet inside. I want to actually experience timelessness in my meditation. Somebody told me years ago that for it to actually be meditation, the unending stream of thoughts must end. That you enter into this place of quietness where really you have no concept of time. And there's a couple of ways to tell if you're there. First of all, you get this thing that in the Bible, in Psalms, it says, the peace that passes all understanding. And this is a peace in your heart where you actually feel connected to life. And you have a knowing that is deeper than any intellectual knowing that everything is okay. There's no worry. There's nothing to be worked up about. Everything is okay. And this is a state that we can come to every day and really, with some practice, be able to come to it in the midst of any kind of trouble or calamity, whatever is going on, to be able to just stop for a moment and get quiet and feel that presence of God in our hearts. Knowing that we are connected, that we are cared for, and that really there isn't anything to worry about. So and then here's how it goes with me. I get up, and after I get up, I go exercise. I go exercise, and look, it's like when I was in corporate life, I used to have appointments with customers, and it was kind of important to actually be there. They like that when you show up. But this is like, for me, this is an appointment. I have an appointment with the exercise, and I treat it just as if I was going to do a counseling here in the church or whether I was going to see a client. In other words, I'm there. I get there. I don't call in sick. I get there. And I'm just telling you what I do. Sometimes I feel like I am sick. Sometimes I feel like I really should probably stay in bed. And maybe I should. But I make myself get up anyway and I go. And this is the other thing that Stephen Covey said is just called mind over mattress. Just get up and go. So I get up and I go, and sometimes it turns out much better because I did go. Sometimes when I get done, I feel worse than when I got there. But I go anyway, and because for me, that routine, that discipline keeps me on an even keel. And then what I try to do, and this is where I wrote fall down, not just every year, not just every month, not just every week, not every day, but is proper nutrition. To eat correctly, right? And there's so many different theories out there, but we know a certain number of things that we could decide that if we change this or that we could actually do better than we've been doing. And it's a good idea. I'm not going to go into all of that. And then we work. We've got work to do. And here, what we talk about here is the work that we do is service. The work that we do, whether it's a job that we go in and punch a clock, whether it's a career that we have that we do that we think of differently, when maybe at one time in our life we had a job where we punched the clock, but we think about our career on a little bit of a higher plane. But it really doesn't matter. Whatever it is, whatever our tasks for the day, to do it with service. That we go out into the world and we do it with service, with the idea that I'm not just showing up here to get a paycheck. Yes, it's nice. I come here and I do my work and then they pay me. I want to think about it that way, that they pay me, that's just a benefit. That actually helps me pay the bills and put food on the table and all that other stuff. But the real reason that I'm here is to be helpful. And this is the kind of thing that you can't really, it's kind of hard to talk about with other people. Because if you go telling people at work that you're just there to be of service, they just think you're full of it. They make fun of you at the cooler. So instead of talking about Walking Dead, they're talking about you in your service. But to keep it in mind, to keep it in your heart, to say, this is why I'm here. And then it's actually more effective to not say it. It's actually more effective just to have it in mind that this is what I want to do. I want to give of myself to this thing. I want to invest. And this is the thing. If I'm doing something that I can't invest myself in, if I'm doing something that I can't get behind, then I probably should find something else to do. Now I know, and I've said this to my kids before, and I've also said it to other people. I was hoping that there's some way to change it, but the fact of the matter is sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. It seems that way anyway. Maybe after enough practice we actually get to the point where we don't, but sometimes there are things that have to be done, we'd really rather be doing something else. But we can keep in mind that as we're doing it, that when we're done, we can do the something else that we would rather do. So, but the idea, of course, is to keep this sense of, I want to be helpful, and what we talk about here is, I want to be truly helpful. And that means that we're doing the right thing for the right reason, hopefully at the right time. That we're not just out there, doing things for people that they actually should be doing for themselves. That we're thinking, we're considering, and we're asking. And I did the tweet this morning, and you can sign up for the tweet on the website. But the tweet that I sent out this morning had to do with the lesson in Course in Miracles. And it's now we're at the end of the year, so there's like 5. It's one lesson that you keep doing for these last 5 days. And the first one was in the present, in right now, right this moment, I receive all the gifts of Spirit. That in the present, and this is like the most important lesson that I can learn, and it's the most important lesson I can teach, I think, is to be present. This is how all these things come together. To actually be able to be centered in the present moment. Not upset about what happened in the past and not worried about what's going to happen in the future, but be in this present moment, knowing that right now, this is the nexus of creation. This is where everything happens, is in this moment right now. And so to try to be centered and to be with the people who we're with right now. So, and this is a discipline, because I found for many years that when I was at work, I would be thinking about what I was going to do when I got home. And I would be thinking, I might actually be casting my mind out further than that. I might be thinking about when it's vacation time. And if I was really disturbed, I could be thinking about retirement. And when I'm at work, I need to be at work. I need to be centered in the moment right there at work. And this is what happened to me. I would go home and I would start thinking about what I didn't do at work, or what this messed up, or what I'm going to have to do tomorrow, or all of this kind of stuff thinking about work. I'm not at work. I'm at home. So be with the one you're with, and be in the place where you're at. And then all these things just start working together for good. Here's what Hafiz said. There's this poem in here. There's a little poem that says, find a better job. Now, a lot of us could take this to heart, but that's not really what he's talking about. He says, now that all your worry has proved such an unlucrative business, why not find a better job? And this really is, I think, the key to this happiness that we're going to have. And what Abraham Lincoln said about it is, people are just about as happy as they have a mind to be. And so I'm going to decide, and this is a challenge that I'm putting out to you. I'm telling you, I'm going to decide that I'm going to be happy. I believe that I have the power to make that decision. And if you think that you just have too many troubles, too many problems in your life, just read Viktor Frankl's small little volume, Man's Search for Meaning. When he is in this concentration camp, seeing his family and friends killed daily, and he makes a decision that his body may be locked up, but his mind is not, and he decides that he's going to be happy. It sounds crazy. It sounds unbelievable, but just read it. It doesn't take long. It's a quick read. And it kind of puts things into perspective, that no matter what seems to be going on around us, that we can make a decision, that we get to decide what we think. We decide what we think. And by deciding what we think, we are actually deciding how we're going to feel. So make a decision for happiness. And then I put down here, I got it on the list. I mean, it must be on the list for some reason. So pray, exercise, eat right, work, make love. Enough said. And then pray again. And sleep. Get this sleep. You know, I was looking at this. I've got on the website. You can get this. We've got a meditation that combines the 12 powers of man. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But the 12 powers line up with 12 recovery steps, and there's a meditation on the website that you can do. Now, the cool thing about this is, and this is how I did it. After I wrote the meditation, I memorized it. And the reason I memorized it was so that wherever I was, if I started to get worked up, that I could just fall right back into it and begin. And it begins with, I surrender to the power of God within me and all around me. Now see, when I do this, no matter what's going on, if I just take that second to make that surrender, all of a sudden things start changing. My attitude starts changing right off the bat. And then I say, hope activates faith, which restores me to wholeness. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's memorized. It's in me. It's part of me. And the way I do it, like if I'm driving, if I have a long drive, I will do it while I'm driving, and I do a breathing exercise along with it. It actually takes 20 minutes to get through the